Welcome to Assembling the MCU. Yes, another trip to the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe. I don't give a shit what you think. It's what I want to do. Hopefully you like it, though, or at least enjoy my takes on it. It'll be a little bit different. It's going to be short. We're going to blow through these. Could try and rewatch them. I've only seen a majority of these movies one time. I have a very minimal comics background, as many of you may know that are watching this. I've been wanting to revisit them all. So you patrons all get the treat of riding alongside with me, and hopefully you'll comment and give your thoughts on the movies as well. This will be in chronological release order. We'll hit all the movies and maybe the Disney Plus series. We'll see if how things go. First up, the movie that started all, Iron Man 2008, our introduction to Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, the man who'd be the forefront of the entire MCU for the next decade. We get a fast introduction. Tony's taking marked pictures with some soldiers on a Jeep ride through the desert. They hit an IED. They get attacked. The soldiers all get mowed down. No resistance. Tony's dragged into captivity in a cave. His life is saved, but now he's held hostage and connected to a car battery to keep him alive. Before we go further with that, we go to a flashback. We get a brief glimpse of Tony in his true misanthropic playboy era before he eschews making weapons to develop into the godfather of the soon-to-be-named Avengers. He plays some craps at a casino. He bangs a hot reporter, drives 180 miles an hour through Los Angeles to the airport, then jets off to the Middle East to show off some new tech, gets drunk on the private plane, some dancing stewardesses, all that Tony Stark fun. From there, he's attacked, ends up on the bed in the cave with Dr. Ho Yunsen, keeping him alive by preventing the shrapnel from entering his heart and killing him before this journey even begins. The captors demand Tony make the Majerica missile system, but instead he works with Ho to build a mini arc reactor to power an iron suit that he concepted so he can use to rescue them both. We get some stooging from the 10 Rings. That's the group that held them hostage and captured them. They somehow don't figure out what these guys are building. Even when they suspect something's afoot, they don't bother like guarding the room or being in the room. Big mistake. The suit ends up working. Tony kicks the shit out of everyone. He escapes. Ho sacrifices himself to buy Tony some time. And as I rewatched it, this scene to me kind of jumped out. It was very eerily similar to what Tony's eventual fate would be, as he dies a hero's death, saves Tony, and ends up kicking off this whole journey. Tony ends up flying off to a crash landing in the desert. Somehow a helicopter of U.S. soldiers finds him wandering 3 months after he was captured. 3 months. The 10 Rings let this guy cook in their lab unattended. The military scoped and scoured the desert for 3 months. 3 months. Give me a week or two. We don't need 3 months. It makes it a little less believable. Not that any of this is. Also, the leader kind of sucks as a heel of the 10 Rings. The only redeeming quality is he looks like future Super Bowl winning head coach Robert Saleh of the New York Jets. He's a handsome man. Tony returns home to the shock of his buddy, Obadiah Stane, of course, been running Stark Industries alongside Tony since he was a teenager. He also looks like Triple H, but not quite the cerebral assassin that the game is, since this attempted murder of Tony failed big time. The monologues are on par, though, with Triple H, for better or worse. Stane is aghast along with everyone else when Tony reveals publicly he wants to stop making weapons and start helping people instead. Things get worse. Tony eventually learns that Stark Industries has been double dipping, selling weapons to the 10 Rings and other terrorists under the table. Stane and the board bench Tony. He spends that time building both a more stable mini arc reactor for his heart and the official Iron Man armor with hot rod red coloring, of course, included. With that, we get some fun scenes. He's working with Jarvis. He's test driving all the armor, test driving the suits, including a very fun scene where he flies around, cruising the skies above Malibu up into space. This needs to be like a Disney World ride, for sure. Like, you're Tony flying through space, trying to learn how to fly. The 10 Rings crew eventually find the original Iron Man prototype in the desert, which, again, come on, how's this shit just sitting out in the desert? How do they find it? This leads to the best scene of the movie. Tony goes to battle as Iron Man for the first time. He flies to the Middle East, destroys the 10 Rings as they're raiding a city, and then we get like a Top Gun style shootout with the military on his return home. Just see little Kenny Loggins. Stane is fully revealed as the lead bad guy as he reneges on his deal with the 10 Rings, kills Robert Saleh while stealing the Iron Man prototype. Tony eventually finds out Stane was behind the illegal sales after a confrontation at a benefit dinner. With some help from the ever-present and very sarcastic Pepper Potts, Tony tracks down the shipping receipts as proof, but not before Stane cripples him with the dog whistle device that he has, which seems way too effective, cannot be used in future movies. He just whistles in his ear and he goes paralyzed. Colonel James Rhodes, who's Tony's bestie, finds Tony in time to save him. They redeploy the Iron Man suit and bring us to our final battle. Stane is in the mega Iron Man suit that he had developed along this journey. Tony and Pepper then find a way to outwit and survive him. He's murdered by the arc reactor in the end. He's done. And during all this, of course, we also have the debut of S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Coulson. He'll become a key player in developing the Avengers going forward. That gets foreshadowed even more in the post-credit scene where Nick Fury visits Tony for a chat and mentions the Avengers initiative. Tony then ends the official movie by revealing I am Iron Man. In the end, great start to the MCU, strong kickoff, put us fully into that universe, establishes Iron Man, does it in a way that felt visceral, doesn't feel cheesy or forced like other superhero movies. We also were given a standalone story with closure. In case you're out after this, you at least get a movie that has a beginning, middle, and end. But if you're into the journey, you get some breadcrumbs that shows this is something that's going to keep going. So very well done. Got some categories I'm going to hit for each of these movies, then we're out of here. Best character, non-superhero division, Pepper Potts. Best scene, I went with Iron Man attacking the 10 rings, that first battle. It's the first time you really get to see him in flight, kicking ass, using everything to do with the suit. And then the flight on the way back, fighting with the fighter jets was really cool. Best song, Iron Man by Black Sabbath. Of course, it's the final song we hear in the movie after Tony reveals that he is indeed Iron Man. Worst character, I went with Robert Saleh. Again, generic heel leader. He's kind of propped up as the guy you think is going to be the big bad before Stain. Kind of antiseptic. Villain rating on Stain, I went 5.5. He was fine. We don't get a ton of his motivation. His plan didn't really seem well cooked. Like everything seemed to be going great. Why does he want to get Stark out of there? We don't really ever get his motivations. Goes down kind of easy. A couple of great quotes. Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a bunch of scraps when Stain's mad that they can't build the arc reactor technology without Tony. And of course, Tony's I am Iron Man to end the movie. Key debuts to the MCU. We had Tony Stark, Iron Man, Pepper Potts, Jarvis, Happy Hogan, didn't mention him, but we don't get a lot of him in this movie. We'll see more to come. Obadiah Stane, Colonel Rhodes, Ho Yinsen, Phil Coulson, and the concept of S.H.I.E.L.D., and of course, Nick Fury. We had one post-credit scene that is Fury visiting Stark, and then a final score in this movie out of 10. I went 8. I think it's a great superhero movie. May pale in comparison to some of the stuff to come, but as its own, if this had been it, it was a really, really strong outing in the superhero genre. So I'm going to be doing some rankings. Obviously, we only did one movie so far. So the movie rankings, Iron Man's number 1. Superhero rankings, Iron Man's number 1. And villain rankings, not for long, Obadiah Stane is number 1. Hopefully you enjoyed this debut episode of Assembling the MCU. Let me know any feedback, your thoughts on this. Hopefully you subscribe to the Patreon. Check this out. You probably have. But share it. Get others to subscribe. Check out everything we have to offer here and at the North-South Connection. Until then,